experts from 3 separate disciplines with us this morning, and they will all give their each and distinct justifications for why they consider themselves bleeding heart libertarians, along with fielding your questions. We're going to attribute a substantial portion of the time to questions, both questions that we've had submitted online at Bleeding Heart Libertarians, Students for Liberty, and on Facebook, and questions that we can take here. When we do the question and answer period here, all I ask is that you line up behind the microphone that we have set up, and we'll just take questions for that period. Yeah. So we have with us today Jason Brennan, Steve Horowitz, and Sarah Squire. Jason Brennan got his PhD in 2007 from the University of Arizona, and he is an assistant professor of strategy, economics, ethics, and public policy at Georgetown University, and formerly assistant professor of philosophy and research at Brown University. He specializes in political philosophy and applied ethics. He's the author of Libertarianism, What Everyone Needs to Know, The Ethics of Voting, and, with David Schmidt's, A Brief History of Liberty. He is currently writing Civic Enemies, The Rule of All Against All, and Compulsory Voting, For and Against, a debate with co-author Lisa Hill. Steve Horowitz is at St. Lawrence University and is the Charles A. Dana Professor of Economics in Canton, New York, and an affiliated senior scholar at the Mercatus Center in Arlington, Virginia. He's the author of 2 books, Micro Foundations and Macroeconomics, An Austrian Perspective, and Monetary Evolution, Free Banking, and Economic Order. And he has written extensively on Austrian economics, Hayekian political economy, monetary theory and history, and the economics and social theory of gender and the family. Horowitz serves as the book review editor of the Review of Austrian Economics, and is a contributing editor of The Freeman. We also has a weekly online column, and is a frequent guest on Fox Business's Freedom Watch. He has a PhD in economics from George Mason University and an AB in economics and philosophy from the University of Michigan. Sarah Squire works with Liberty Fund and is the co-author of the college writing textbook, Writing with a Thesis, which is currently in its 11th edition. She's won prizes for her poetry, which has appeared, among other places, in the New Criterion, the Oxford Magazine, and Vocabulary Review. Sarah has published a range of academic articles on subjects from Shakespeare to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and her writing has appeared in journals as varied as Literature and Medicine, the George Herbert Journal, the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization, and she graduated with honors in English from Wesleyan University and earned an MA and PhD in English from the University of Chicago. Currently at work on a book-length project about money and early poetry, Sarah is also a full-time fellow at Liberty Fund Incorporated, a nonprofit educational foundation. And with that, we're just going to start. We're going to start with Professor Brennan. He's going to give us the philosopher's justification.
So, the specter is haunting liberty, libertarian movement, the specter of bleeding heart libertarianism. What is libertarianism? Well, let's ask the left. Here's what they think libertarianism is. First, you dogmatically assume and assert that everyone is a self-owner, and that you dogmatically assert a very expansive concept of self-ownership, and then from that you dogmatically assert that libertarianism follows. You also have to hold that no one ever has a positive obligation to help anyone else. If you see a kid drowning in a lake, let him die. If you feel like helping him, that's fine. You don't have to. That's what morality is. It's just protecting your wallet. It's also the view that big business rules, and everything that's good for big business is good for freedom, and that's what we advocate, making sure that the Lehman Brothers get to be as well off as they can be. It's also the view that, free markets mean lots of children starve, but that's just too damn bad. Freedom, though, the sky falls. Right? We want liberty, even if it turns out to be really awful for all of us. It's also the view that markets never fail. Never. Right? Market failure is a myth, and markets are always working successfully all the time. And finally, it's the view that we should be selfish all the time. That's what we should do. I'm only in here because I'm hoping I'm going to sell a couple of books from it, that kind of thing. Right? Does that sound like you? Is that what you think? Right? No, it's a cartoon view. That's not what you actually think. So why is it the left thinks that about us? Part of it has to do with the language and the way that we talk. Part of it has to do with the explicit philosophy that people tend to use when they try to justify libertarianism. So let me say something you probably won't hear today, which is that Peter Singer is awesome. Peter Singer is an excellent philosopher, better than most libertarian philosophers. And one reason that he's great is because he's just a smart guy and makes good arguments. Part of it has to do with the rhetoric. Singer holds an unusual view called act-utilitarianism that almost everyone thinks is wrong. Act-utilitarianism has a lot of conclusions that a lot of people think are wrong. But when Singer wants to argue for these conclusions, he doesn't start by dogmatically asserting act-utilitarianism and trying to show that his views follow. Rather, what he does is he finds common sense moral principles that almost everybody agrees with, and tries to show that these common sense moral principles lead to his conclusions. And most people are disarmed by them and can't come up with a good counter-argument. And there's a sense in which, just from a rhetorical point of view, that's the kind of thing that libertarians should be doing too. You want to talk to like people who are inclined to be libertarian, go ahead and make the self-ownership argument. But if you're going to be talking to others, you need to be concerned with the same concerns that they have. So ask the like, how would you talk to people on the left? Like, let's say you have a typical left-wing person protesting sweatshops on a college campus, and that person says, sweatshops are evil, let's shut them down. A cartoon libertarian will say, well, you know, the workers consented to their wage, and we should allow people to do whatever they consent to. You've already lost that person. You're not going to convince them. I think it's better to say things like, you know, hey, you, the left-wing person, do you favor open immigration? And they'll almost always say no. You don't? Okay, well, what you've basically done by not favoring immigration, by supporting the kinds of institutions you have, is created fences so the poor people are left sitting ducks in their country, unable to move. You've got a system in which financial instruments and capital and factories can move around. The poor, the desperate poor, are stuck waiting for whatever deal they get. You know, and if you did that with strawberries, the strawberries are going to sell for very low. If you do that with labor, it's going to sell for a low price too. So you say to the left-wing person, you should favor free immigration, because if you don't, and you're voting accordingly, then the fact that they're being exploited is your fault. What if they say something like, big businesses run the economy, they have too much money, we should shut down big businesses? Well, a cartoon libertarian might start by saying, you know, well, in a free society, some people are going to earn more than others, and that's kind of okay. I don't think that's the right response to give them. I think the right response is to say something like, we live in a system of crony capitalism in which big business is in cahoots with government, and it's your fault. It's your fault that it's like that. Because you have created the conditions under which big business is going to capture government power for its own use. You're voting